A mother and her children fight to survive a deadly mountain blizzard till a stranger pulls over when everyone else drives past. She hesitates, unsure whether the man offering help is danger or salvation. What happens next sets off a chain of events that will change every life involved forever. Snow hammered the windshield so hard Marcus almost missed the shapes on the road, 4 of them, half folded by the storm. A woman in a pale coat dragged 2 children through the whiteout, while a third hung limp in her arms. Her hair was frosted, her boots sinking with every stumbling step. Marcus braked hard. His beat-up truck fishtailed before settling. He killed the radio. For a breath, he did nothing except watch the family struggle against a storm that didn't care whether they survived. He thought of the night he lost his wife, how helplessness felt like ice in the lungs. He grabbed his coat and stepped out. The wind hit him like a wall. "Ma'am," he shouted, trudging toward them. "Can't be out here." She jerked away from him like he was the threat. Fear carved shadows across her face. Her gaze flicked. From his dark skin to his old truck, to the empty road where another pair of headlights approached. They passed without slowing. Her voice cracked. "We're fine. Just keep going." Marcus's jaw tensed. The boy in her arms twitched once, then went frighteningly still. That punched something in Marcus's chest that never healed. He raised his hand slowly. "He's not fine. Look at him." She dead. Her breath collapsed. For a moment she seemed suspended between every warning she'd ever heard about strangers, and the reality of her son's fading life. The youngest girl whimpered. The wind tore the sound away. Marcus stepped closer. "My cabin's 10 minutes from here. I don't even know you," she whispered. "That's all right." His voice dropped to something steady, something human. "But the storm doesn't care who you trust." The wind shoved the children sideways. The smallest began to sob. Marcus held out his arms for the boy. His hands shook, not from fear of her or fear of losing another child a cold and chance. "Come with me," he said quietly. "Nobody survives this mountain alone." Silence. Snow hissing against metal. Sound of a world deciding. Then the boy's breath stuttered, and that broke whatever was left inside her. She nodded. Marcus moved fast, lifting the child carefully, felt how frighteningly light he was. The woman gathered the others and followed him toward the truck. Boots sinking, fear and hope tangling with every step. Inside the cab, the heater groaned to life, slow and weak. The boy's head leaned against Marcus's shoulder as they pulled back onto the buried road. LaRoche finally said her name, began to talk. About the crash, about her husband losing sight of them, about walking for hours with no guarantee of rescue. Marcus kept his eyes ahead, jaw set. Tonight, these strangers were his responsibility. But as Marcus drove deeper into the storm with a fading child in his arms, he had no idea the night would test more than courage. It would test every wound he thought had healed. Marcus pushed the truck harder as the storm thickened.
Ow.
Each gust rocking the vehicle like a warning. Laura held her 2 conscious children close, their faces thawing just enough for the fear beneath the frost to show. The smallest one whimpered about her hands, pressing them toward the weak heater. Marcus adjusted the vent. "It'll warm up fast. Just hang on." The boy resting against him barely breathed. Every shallow inhale made Marcus grip the wheel tighter. He'd seen that stillness before too many times in emergency rooms. Too many nights replaying the moment he couldn't save the person he loved most. He swallowed the memory and kept driving. Lights finally appeared through the curtain of snow. Single cabin, small but steady, sitting against the darkness. Marcus turned down the narrow dirt road, tires slipping, engine groaning. "We're here," he said. Laura sagged with relief, but the fear in her eyes didn't fade. Not yet. He opened the cabin door with his shoulder, carrying the unconscious boy inside. Warmth rushed out, wood smoke, old blankets, the faint smell of stew that hadn't been cooked yet. His daughter Lily stood first. "Dad." What? "Blankets," Marcus said. "Now, no questions." Lily sprinted to the closet. Caleb grabbed towels and cleared space on the couch. Laura guided her kids in, legs trembling as heat washed over them. Marcus set the boy down gently and peeled off the soaked gloves. The child's fingers were stiff, colorless. Laura knelt beside him, brushing snow from his hair with a shaking hand. Marcus wrapped the boy in quilts and angled the space heater toward him. The room's warmth slowly filled the cracks of panic. Lily handed warm water to the girls. Caleb stirred broth on the stove, glancing back at the boy every few seconds. The children whispered thank yous, with voices thin as paper. Lara watched. Marcus, moving around the room, checking pulses, warming towels, drying boots, managing the crisis with calm precision. Something shifted in her eyes. Her suspicion didn't vanish, but it broke apart enough to let gratitude through. "You stopped," she said quietly. "Why?" Marcus paused, hands resting on the blanket around her son. "Because someone once stopped for me," he said, "and I owed the world to them." Laura looked down at the sleeping boy, her breath unsteady. "I thought we were going to die out there. You kept walking. That's why you didn't." The storm slammed against the cabin again, shaking the windows. Laura flinched. Marcus noticed and moved closer. "It can't get in," he said. "You and your kids, you're safe here." For the first time since he found them, tears spilled down her cheeks. She wiped them quickly so her children wouldn't see. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't even know how to say it right." "You don't need to say anything tonight," Marcus replied softly. "Just stay warm." Outside, the wind screamed. Inside, hope breathed again, but morning would bring more than safety. It would bring a discovery that tied their fates together in a way none of them could have imagined. Dawn crept in slowly, gray and uncertain, as though afraid to disturb the fragile peace inside the cabin. The storm had weakened, but its memory still clung to the windows in frost patterns shaped like claws. Marcus had barely slept. He sat beside the couch, watching the boy's chest rise thin, shallow, but steadying with every minute. Laura hadn't moved from the floor next to her son. Her daughters slept wrapped in quilts. Their small bodies finally relaxed. Then the boy stirred. His fingers twitched beneath the blanket, and a faint sound escaped him, half breath, half whimper. Laura gasped, hands flying to his face. "Eli, baby." His eyelids fluttered. Color returned slowly, like someone painting life back into him one stroke at a time. Tears streamed down Laura's cheeks, landing on her knuckles. Marcus let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. "He's coming back," he said softly. Laura brushed Eli's hair aside with shaking hands. Relief broke her into half gratitude, half grief for every fear she had carried through the night. "We need your husband's number," Marcus said eventually. "He's looking for you." Laura nodded and dug into her coat pocket, pulling out a damp, half-crumpled scrap of paper. Ink had bled around the edges, but the number was still legible. Marcus stepped into the kitchen to make the call. It connected instantly. A frantic voice burst through the speaker, shouting, pleading, desperate for any sign of his family. Marcus spoke slow and steady, giving details, explaining their condition, giving directions through the remaining patches of snow. When he hung up, Laura was watching him with something new in her eyes: trust, real and unguarded. "How long?" she asked. He said, "He's already on the road." The cabin shifted into quiet urgency. Caleb cleaned around the couch, clearing space. Lily reheated broth. Laura sat with her children tucked against her sides, whispering soft reassurances. Outside, snow drifted lazily across the yard, lighter now, harmless. Marcus stepped onto the porch to scout the road, breathing in the sharp morning air. Then he heard it. Engines, not local trucks, not the slow crawl of plows. Something larger, faster. He walked down the steps as a sleek black SUV barreled around the last bend and skidded to a stop in front of the cabin. Before the vehicle even settled, the driver's door opened and a man sprinted out, boots sliding in the snow. He didn't look at Marcus. He blew straight past him and into the cabin. A cry tore from his chest the instant he saw his family raw, loud, breaking at the edges. He dropped to his knees, pulling Laura and the kids into his arms. Even Eli reached weakly toward him. Marcus stood at the doorway, giving them space. Eventually, the man straightened and turned to him. You saved them." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "I just did what I could." "No," the man said, voice thick. "Dozens of cars passed them. You didn't." The table beside the couch where Marcus's half-finished rescue device lay among scattered sketches. "What's this?" he asked, picking it up gently. Just an idea, Marcus said. Something I never finished. The man examined it, his expression tightening with controlled excitement. For finding people in storms? He asked. Marcus nodded. This could change everything, the man breathed. Let me help you build it, properly, professionally, whatever it takes. Behind him, Laura watched, realizing something enormous had shifted again. But this time in Marcus's direction, and the possibilities. Waiting beyond that morning were bigger than the storm they had survived. But Marcus had no idea that this offer would not just change his life. It would rewrite it on a scale he never dreamed possible. 1 year passed like a slow sunrise starting in darkness, rising in quiet degrees, and finally breaking open into brilliance. Marcus stood backstage, hands clasped, the polished prototype resting in his palm. The same device that once lay unfinished on his kitchen table, now fully realized, refined, tested, and adopted across rescue teams nationwide. People called it groundbreaking, revolutionary, life-saving. But Marcus remembered what it really was. A promise born from a night when a storm demanded everything from him, the stage manager signaled. Marcus stepped into the golden light of the auditorium. A standing crowd, weighted leaders, reporters, innovators. Front and center sat the billionaire who had once barreled into Marcus's cabin with snow still clinging to his boots. Now he sat calmly, pride clear on his face. The applause softened as Marcus reached the podium. He didn't start with statistics projections or the device's value. He started with the mountain. He told them about the blizzard so thick it erased the world, about a woman whose eyes carried both fear and fierce determination, about 3 children clinging to their mother while the storm tried to claim them, about cars that passed without stopping, and about a boy whose breath faded in Marcus's arms. The crowd leaned in silent. Breath held. I wasn't a genius, Marcus said softly. I was just a man who refused to walk past someone losing hope. He explained how the device worked, how it could detect body heat through debris and snow, how emergency workers could find missing people in minutes instead of hours, how, in its first months of deployment, it had already saved lives. But this award, continued, lifting the plaque slightly, isn't about innovation. It's about choice. The choice to see people, the choice to stop. His voice thickened for a moment, but he didn't hide it. This is dedicated to single parents fighting storms of their own, and to my wife, whose memory taught me that saving one life can change thousands. The crowd rose applause rolling like thunder, warm and wide and echoing with gratitude. When Marcus walked off stage, the billionaire met him halfway, gripping his shoulder. You did this, the man said. Not the technology. You. Marcus exhaled, somewhere between disbelief and quiet acceptance. Behind them, Laura stepped forward with her family, dressed warmly, smiling wide. Eli, healthier and taller now, rushed toward Marcus and wrapped his arms around his waist. You saved my life, he whispered. Marcus's eyes stung. No, buddy. You fought your way back. I just showed you where the heat was. Laura touched Marcus's hand. You turned one night into something the world needed, she said. Marcus looked around the lights. The people, the device in his hand, the family he had once carried through a blizzard, and for the first time in years, he felt something settle inside him. Purpose, peace, and the quiet truth that one choice had rewritten his entire life. And if this story tells us anything, it's this storms reveal who we truly are. Some people walk past the darkness, and some choose to walk straight into it for the sake of others.